Right, so today we're going to make another delicious recipe from our new book, Peter Sidwell's Kitchen, coming out August, September time? Yeah, August, September time. It is finished, it's with the publishers now. We cannot wait to share it with you, but in the meantime, we're going to share loads of recipes from the book. So today, Demerara Shortbread Biscuits. Incredibly simple recipe, not a lot going on, but the combination of flavours is absolutely amazing. So I've been making this method of shortbreads for a long time now. It's the sablé method, which is like French shortbread. So we add an egg yolk to it, which is pretty much the difference. So first thing we need to do, 250 grams of salted butter. I like salted butter in my baking because I think that little bit of salt just helps, all right? What we need to do is we're going to beat this together with my, I love this piece of kit, wireless chargeable mixer from KitchenAid. So thank you for creating this, you changed my world. Right, so 250 grams of salted butter, room temperature, okay? It's important. 125 grams of golden caster sugar. Now I'm using golden because it's got more flavour. If you've only got white, so be it. Don't worry about it. Okay, in we go.
So do you have to use block butter, or can you use margarine, or does it not work?
I don't think that you need that sort of more firm setting point with shortbreads. I don't think you can get away with margarine on it. I mean, you probably, the way I do it, so when we get to shortbread, I will be slicing it, not rolling it. Yeah. Because I think you get a much better shortbread. I suppose if you use margarine, you'd have to roll it and use cutters. Yeah. So I tend not to. I think the flavour's better in shortbreads with butter. Yeah. Right, here we go. Full speed. So you need to keep mixing until that sort of scratching sound stops. And basically what we're trying to do is amalgamate the butter and the sugar together so that they dissolve and create one texture. Okay?
What would happen if it wasn't fully incorporated?
So when you're cooking it, the butter and the sugar kind of separate, and your job as a baker is to get the two together. Right. So that then you can enrich it with the egg yolk that I'm about to do, and then fold everything in. You just find that the texture isn't quite right. Yeah. So just beat it together. And there's not a lot going on here. We're not chucking loads of lemon zest and orange and chocolate and all this sort of stuff in this. It's just butter, sugar, vanilla, and Demerara. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're going with this. It's very pure and clean. So we're going to add a little bit of vanilla extract to that. Okay. And then an egg yolk. This is where it's different. So all you Scottish people out there, I'm sorry, but I think the French are better at shortbread than the Scottish. Ooh, they're controversial. And the difference is an egg yolk. And that's it. Ooh. Sorry. Oh,
fight and talk that, Pete.
I know, I'm going to stay my side of the wall. Yeah. Right, separate your egg, but keep the white, and I'll show you what for in a little while, all right? This shortbread recipe will serve you well, being able to change it up, do loads. You must have seen me make these a million times.
Oh, that's a good staple in the office.
It is. You know, a really good, strong shortbread recipe that you can add, look in the cupboard and add the flavours you love, all right? But this is a really good foundation, and that's really what the book's going to be about. It's just giving you these really solid recipes that you can then create flavour profiles with and just open the cupboards, and that's what I do all the time. Right, I'm going to make shortbread. What have I got? Oh, I've got lemon and poppy seed today. That's going in. Or I've got chocolate and orange. That's going in. Hazelnut and coffee. That's going in.
Like ultimate flavour.
Chocolate and orange all day long.
Dark chocolate. Though.
Loads of orange zest. Dark chocolate chips. Oh, it's my absolute favourite. In fact, let me show you. So, this was my first cookbook that I ever wrote, and this will be 14 years old, this book. Oh. Wow. And let me show you one of the first recipes that I created for the book. Oh my goodness, sorry, I'm going to be really quick because I know you want to see what I'm cooking. Where is it? Where is it? Must be near the back.
Is it in this book?
Yeah, it's in the book.
It is a good recipe.
And when I opened my cafe in Keswick for the first time, this was the recipe. So I learned how to make this in France, skiing. I spoke to a baker and I worked my dodgy French and his dodgy English, we kind of worked it out, and there it is.
Oh.
Chocolate and orange, dark chocolate and orange shortbreads. Now, this recipe served me 15 years now.
It is a good recipe.
It's a cracking recipe. And I felt like it needed to come back into the book and just show you an alternative way of doing it. Anyway, right. Egg white, put to one side. Egg yolks in there. Vanilla's in there. Plain flour. So let me run through the ingredients. I'll get Carlos to put down the side. But it's 250 grams of salted butter at room temperature. 125 grams of golden caster sugar. Teaspoon of vanilla. 1 egg yolk. Keep the white for later. 375 grams of plain flour. In it goes. Don't mix yet. And then a little bit of custard powder. All right? And that just helps give it that more vanilla-y flavour.
The question?
I did, I'm sorry. It just richens it up and it kind of tightens it a little bit, which is good. Now, mix it on slow speed, all right? Don't put it on full speed or everywhere, all right?
So what would happen, obviously, like, because baking, we had this conversation yesterday saying like baking's quite technical.
Yeah.
It's quite scientific.
So we were writing our top tips for baking for the book yesterday. So we've done a double-page spread, haven't we?
Yeah.
Of just top tips. So apply these tips to all the recipes will help you be really successful. Sorry, Emily, go on.
No. If to say you would, you know, like how sometimes your scales might not be calibrated properly.
Right.
Things like that. So say, what would happen if you put like too much flour in? Is there any way to correct it, or is it something that?
Stop it.
Is it a tough
If you put
one?
too much, so my first tip is if you've got some scales, when you've bought a bag of flour and it says 1 kilo on it, just weigh it. Check it's right. If it says 1 kilo on the scales and it says 1 kilo on the bag, it's going to be 1 kilo, probably. So it's always just worth calibrating where you can.
Yeah.
So if you've put too much flour in, you're probably going to need to add a touch more butter, a touch more sugar, and kind of hope. It's really tricky, I'll be honest with you.
So it's something that you need to take your time on.
Take your time,
make sure you get it right.
weigh all your ingredients out and then go for it. Yeah. So in terms of if you've added a little bit too much flour, what you're going to have to do is add a little bit more butter and sugar, but you've got to be really careful. So my top tip would be calibrate your scales. As I said before, if your bag of flour says 1 kilo on it, put it on the scales, check your scales says 1 kilo, and that'll give you a kind of calibration tool. Right, can I just show you that, Emily?
Yeah.
You see how it looks like crumble?
Yeah.
There, it's time now to get your hands dirty. So, just pour it out. Now, you would struggle with this, Emily, because your hands are like icicles, aren't they? Just like Emma's. My hands are warm. I'm warm-blooded. So just use the warmth of your hands and sort of press the mixture together, okay?
Yeah.
Because if I carried on mixing and mixing and mixing this, and this is sort of how the Scottish tend to make their shortbreads, they mix it until it comes together, and I think that develops the gluten a bit too much.
Right.
For this recipe, and because we're adding the egg yolk, you can see how it's just sort of coming together now.
So you kind of want it, it's quite, you just and so bringing it together.
Just compressing it really, rather than mixing it,
Yeah.
okay? And I always tend, for some reason, to roll mine.
So you can see it's a lot sturdier than some shortbreads that.
Yeah, because the egg yolk's richened it up,
Yeah.
and my warmth of my hands is pressing the dough together.
Yeah.
And what you tend to find is when you roll it all together, there's like cracks and crevices inside it. So
Yeah.
snap it in half, push it back together, and do it again. Okay? And then we're just going to roll, push in, and roll like that. And that's just going to get us to a point where we've got a nice log.
So would you
almost.
say it's easier to do it this way rather than rolling it out and cutting out?
Because it's so short, because it's shortbread.
Yeah. Clues in the name, isn't it?
Yeah, so you roll it out and it kind of breaks and it doesn't, and you end up adding more flour, and all of a sudden you've got this really tough shortbread instead of biscuity, buttery, crumbly biscuits, which is what you want from shortbread. Okay, so that can go in the fridge as it is, but what we're going to do is one more thing, okay? Do you remember the egg white we didn't use? Okay, we need that now.
That's always a leftover, isn't it, when you're doing stuff like
and
that?
a man only needs so many meringues. So what I'm going to use it like glue, okay? So I'm going to brush the outside of my shortbread, okay? So we're going to do the top first. And then we're going to take Demerara. I've actually got a dark brown sugar, but Demerara is kind of what we created it for, because we want you to be able to, I want you to be able to taste the biscuit and the Demerara sugar. So you put it on the outside, so the outside is crisp and caramelized and sweet, but it's not all the way through. So, because we only do like half sugar to butter, it's not an overly sweet biscuit.
So for the outside, say if you had only caster sugar,
It'll work.
will it work?
But what you don't get is that treacly flavour that you would get from Demerara or dark brown sugar. I mean, I think the darker the sugar, the nicer than these biscuits. So you kind of just press the sugar on the outside and then just roll it over. And there's that bit that was underneath that didn't have any egg white on. So let's get that on there.
So this is kind of, obviously, it obviously makes a shortbread even better, but this can be optional.
Yeah, you don't have to add it if you don't want. You can just use a standard shortbread.
Yeah.
And when I make my chocolate and orange ones, I just roll white sugar on this. And I have lovely dark chocolate chips and tons of orange zest.
What else do you use this shortbread recipe for? So let's say if you've made the biscuits, what else could you do to kind
Lemon and poppy seed, that's a good flavour. Coffee and hazelnut, coffee and walnut.
I've made them before.
I know, we could do those. White chocolate and raspberry, but you have to use dried raspberries or raspberry powder, because if you add frozen raspberries, it's too wet, too much hydration, and it kind of messes with the recipe. You can get loads of really cool dried fruits and things like that now. You could just add loads of seeds if you wanted to get more goodness into a biscuit and still have a biscuit. Pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds.
You could do like a zest of orange with that.
Yeah, loads of citrus zests in there. Yeah. And then you could mix the juice and the egg white on the outside and stick the sugar together. So but if I show you that now, look, it's got that lovely coating. In fact, I've missed a bit there.
So once you get the basics right, you can build on top of the flavours, can't you?
Absolutely. And whatever's in the cupboard, that's what you're going to use. Right, that is just going to sit in the fridge for a couple of hours before we slice it. Okay, so the shortbread has firmed up now, is ready to, the reason why we do this is it just allows it all to firm up and it gets you a really clean cut. So all we're going to do is like, 1 centimetre slices. There we go. And now you can see why we've done it the way we've done it. Look, you've got this really clean, pure, buttery shortbread, and then you've got the rich, dark brown sugars around the edges. Now we're using a non-stick masterclass baking tray here. We don't need parchment paper for this. We can go straight on the tray. The only tip I would have for you if you're using a tray like this is when they come out of the oven, give them a little wiggle, make sure the sugar hasn't stuck. And then they will release straight away. So there we go. I'm going to bake these in the oven at 160 degrees, okay? So not a really high heat, for about 12 to 15 minutes, okay? This mixture will sit in the fridge for a couple of weeks. It will also go in the freezer either as a whole piece or sliced up, whichever you prefer. So they won't bake from frozen, but all you need to do is just pop them in the fridge for a couple of hours, let them thaw out, and they're good to go. So that's how you make my beautiful Demerara shortbread biscuits. Thank you very much for watching, and please like and share this video, share it with your friends and family, let everyone know. It's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, TikToks, Twitter, X should we say. Sign up to our YouTube channel and then you can see all our episodes. We've got about 200 recipe episodes now, so get signed up. Thank you very much for watching. Have an amazing weekend.